Hi everyone, welcome to THT, and today I'm going to be showing you 4 lists I've been working on for set 4. This video is sponsored by Card Market, which is the biggest marketplace for buying and selling cards in Europe. Big shout out to them for sponsoring this video. This is the first sponsorship for the channel, and to celebrate this, Card Market has given me a €20 gift card to give away on the channel. So all you gotta do is post the comments on this video with your Discord name and Discord number so I can contact you in case you win. I'll be selecting someone at random and we're giving you out €20 worth of €20 to buy anything you want on Card Market. So this is pretty awesome. Thank you so much to them for sponsoring video. Card Market is a website I've been using for a very long time to buy and sell cards, and I still use today, so I'm really happy to have a service that I actually use and love sponsoring my videos. So I'm very grateful for that. It's really awesome. So without further ado, let's get into that video. So first of all, I'm going to show you this first list I've been working on. This is a Thrawn exploit deck. So exploit decks in set 3 have been pretty disappointing to say the least, but we are getting a lot of great things in set 4 to make those decks better. What we are getting notably is better ways to generate tokens, and Thrawn does this very well, much better than any other leaders of set 3 as far as I know. There's also Vader, which also is really good. It can give you tokens for free, but I think Thrawn might even be even better. And what it does, of course, is like it allows you to double the effect of any when defeated effect you have. And there's a lot of when defeated effect that generate tokens or generate units. So we have, of course, at the turn 1 play, we got Confederate Courier, we got War Trade Officials, we also got Cop Veins, which doesn't even give us tokens, it actually gives us 2-drop, and some of those 2-drop gives token themselves. Needless to say, we are almost never running out of unit to play in this deck because we have so many units that generate units, and so on. And with Grand Army of Thrawn, we can double those effects. And obviously later on in the game, we also have Chimeria, which generate 2 TIE Fighters when it dies, and the Battle Droid Legions, which generate 3 droid when it dies, which is pretty incredible. So we are able to exploit repetitively every turn and never run out of things to exploit, which is very nice. So in this deck, as you can see, of course, our early game plays, of course, are based on token generation, but we also have Vanguard Infantry, which is a great card because you pay for 1, and then when you exploit it, you get a discount of 2, so you're effectively getting 1 resources, and you're also getting the when defeated effect that you can double with Thrawn, get 2 experience token, let's say on a Bactor Droid, and suddenly Bactor Droids, 7 attack, can kill any leader in the game. 2 experience token on Droid Cast Security as a Sentinel suddenly becomes so much easier to get through, so much harder to get through, cannot be bounced by cunning, that kind of thing. And so on. So just very strong synergies. Also, you can go Director Critic on turn 1 and then play Vanguard Infantry for 0 on the same turn. You got 2 units on very early on the game, and you can do some really crazy opening with that. So we also get, the deck is a little bit slow sometimes, so Onyx Squadron Brute is here to kind of heal us up. We have power, we of course have ramp, like resupply, super laser technician to get into our more expensive card, and we also have a 6 deploy leader, so ramp is also valuable. Super laser technician is both a unit that you can exploit, and also a ramp at the same time, which is great. And then of course we got our payoffs, and our payoffs is all of those exploit cards. We of course have kind of sword and sword cheap exploit cards that we can play relatively early on in the game that allows us to control the board with droid cast security and Bactor with spider droids. And we got the more late game kind of value. Gore is both a kind of huge payoff and stabilizer. Malevolence is a good stabilizer and a good finisher as well. And Battle Droid Battle Droid Legions is both a really big units that can be discounted by both Director Chronic and the exploit because it has a when defeated effect. So it's a unit that will exploit a lot of units, but then when it dies can leave behind a bunch of droids, and if you double the effect, you're leaving behind 6 battle droid, which is insane. So those are like some really cool things going on with that. We also have obviously the Chimeria that comes into play, can repeat a when defeated effect. You can repeat the one of Cop Veins, Battle Droids, with you can heal, you can repeat the Onyx Squadron Brute, And you can even double that effect with Admiral Thrawn, so you can play Chimera. If you have a droid legion into play, you can use Grand Admiral Thrawn, you generate 6 battle droids, and you leave the battle droid legion behind, and you also have a 5/6 in play that will itself generate more TIE fighters when it dies, which is so good, and can of course be doubled by Thrawn. So it's just like the deck is just constantly producing massive amount of units, and there's no much your opponents can do to prevent those massive bolts from exploding. And once you get a massive bolt, you can start playing Malevolence, you can start playing Gore, you can start playing the Invasion of Cryptosis, a card that I consider to be completely unplayable, is actually quite playable in this deck, because it's just so easy to produce massive amount of units, and you can totally exploit forward in this deck without losing your key units, wipe the opponent board, and have units on your side, which is just so good. The next card is just the standard stuff. We're playing the Power Dark Side because it's such a strong card. You could make an argument of playing Merciless Contest that can sometimes kill your own unit, which can be a benefit in this deck. But most likely we prefer to have a removal that can kill leaders, especially in a format where pilot leaders are going to be a thing. I think Power Dark Side is going to be quite key. No Glory Only result is an auto-include in any Thrawn deck, in my opinion. It's a great removal, very well positioned in the meta, and the fact, because it deals with notably like Ruthless Raiders and some of the best cards in the game, and the fact that you can double the effect with Admiral Thrawn is only icing on the cake. And then we got Overwhelming Barrage, which is obviously an amazing card in this deck, as you get to put those massive units relatively early on in the game. Obviously Barrage is always going to be great. So there's a lot of cool things going on. Also in the sideboard, you got so many Shoe Side, which is very strong against like very big mid-range decks, as you're gonna have so many tokens. We can very easily swap the tokens for a big unit. Traitorous is also good against people who like piloting on their spaceship. We got the TIE Fighters squadron here, so we can ambush, kill. So if you're playing against a deck that has a lot of low health space units, you can play this card. It will kill something and leave 2 TIE Fighters behind, or even 3 TIE Fighters if you've used Grand Admiral Thrawn's ability. So that's really, really strong. The Confiscate is against, once again, pilot leaders, and more Invasion of Cryptosis in matchup in which this card is good. So is this deck competitive? In my opinion, it's still missing something to be competitive. Unfortunately, I think that the token generation have done a massive leap forward in set 4. However, the exploit cards are still lagging behind. I still find most of the exploit cards to not do enough compared to the amount of setup that they require. So, but this is definitely a huge step toward the direction. It's a very, very fun deck to play. And not only that, it's also an extremely affordable deck to play, because turns out there's just not a single expensive card in this deck. There are a few legendaries, but those legendaries are very affordable. If you go, for example, Gore is the most expensive card in the deck, and you can buy it on card market for 1.2 euro, which is so dirty cheap. So you can actually get the entire deck for about less than 40 euros in my probably. So it's just such a crazy affordable deck, and it's very, very fun to play. It's relatively rare to see cheap decks being not aggro. So this is something that is really cool, is to see that it is possible in Star Wars Limited to build strong decks that are not aggressive aggro decks for a very affordable price. So it's just a really strong deck. He has like massive openings with Krennic, can really go really fast, get those exploits. So it's a deck that, my opinion, kind of like the 2 weaknesses of the deck is, as I said, the fact that the exploit cards are not quite powerful enough yet, in my opinion. And the second issue with the deck is that obviously there's some consistency issue. There's 2 parts of the deck. There's the enablers and the payoffs. The enablers are obviously the cheap token generation cards, and the payoffs are those massive exploit units. If you draw the enablers, but you don't draw any payoff, you can be in trouble, or the other way around can be a problem as well. So this is kind of like the main problem with the deck, but I still think it's quite competitive and it's very fun to play with for sure. Moving on, we got my Yoda combo mid-range deck, which is a very interesting deck because it's one of the first combo decks that we are seeing in Star Wars Unlimited. So what is this combo all about? So this is a combo that you probably heard about. One of my a friend YouTuber, Prairie Parrots, who posted a video where he has his deck featuring an Endless Legion combo. My deck is very different from his, but the combo is the same. So what is this combo all about? So basically the idea is like at some point in the game, your base is going to drop at 25, so only 5 HP remaining. At that moment, all you gotta do is defeat a unit or have any unit leaving play. You use Yoda's ability, you place Endless Legions from your hand back on top of your deck, and then you play You're My Only Hope for 3, and You're My Only Hope reads, whenever you got 5 HP or less remaining, you can play the card from the top of your deck for free. So you play this, you play Endless Legion for free, and then you can play from your resource all those massive cards that you've played earlier, that you've basically resourced earlier, which this deck plays quite a few of. So this combo is a 2-card combo, and it's a combo that essentially just wins the game on it by itself, which is pretty massive. Obviously, there's a lot of ifs. You need to drop at 5 HP or less, and you also need to play Yoda in order to be able to put the card on top of your deck. But this is something that is not so difficult to do, especially if your opponent does not expect it. So currently, most Yoda decks, Yoda combo decks, I've been looking something like this. So they're very all-in on the combo. So they have Nabet Village in order to increase the chance of finding the combo. Entertaining Rewards is a great way to find a combo as well. And it has basically just trying to buy time with a bunch of bounce, and it plays tons of off-aspect cards in order to make Endless Legion as powerful as it can be. And my experience with this deck is that it's definitely faster and more consistent than the green version I showed you earlier, but it is also much easier to counter once your opponent actually knows what's going on. The thing is, very easily your opponent can just say, well, I'm not going to put you at 22 because that would be the breakpoint here for Babbage. I'm going to put you at like 20, 21, and I'm going to find a way to one-shot you with a surprise track or just attacking with a large unit, which is not that difficult to do once you know it's there. So, and the problem is like Yoda combo cannot really deal with this. There's simply just not that many ways the Yoda that can actually deal with that. So there's a workaround here where I'm playing with Guerrilla Soldiers. So the way that works is I play Guerrilla Soldiers, and then I can actually voluntarily deal damage to my base. But once again, your opponent can just surprise strike after this. So it's kind of like a very kind of weird. You really need to really have a good control over the game for this to be able to combo off. And it's always going to be the problem with Star Wars Unlimited in terms of for the combo decks is like between the different phases of the combo, which there are a few of in this deck. There's actually 2: the first killing a unit, then using Yoda to put the card on top, and then playing the You're My Only Hope. There's always times for the opponent to interact in between those things, which I think is very healthy for the game. But it does make combo decks a lot harder to play. In my opinion, the answer is not necessarily to not play any combo decks. Obviously, combo decks are only going to get stronger as time goes on. But the answer is to make combo decks that are less all-in, combo decks that can play a normal game of Star Wars Unlimited and use basically Endless Legion as an alternative win condition. And this is exactly what this deck is doing. So I'm basically playing very few off-aspect cards, or only the Relentless and the Cad Bane, which I think is very important cards to pick up from Endless Legion if you want this to really win the game. Relentless will block Super Laser Blast. Cad Bane will just deal with the bolt. What is really cool with Cad Bane though is like you can play it from Endless Legion, but you can also play it on U-Wing Reinforcement. And outside of those 4 cards, which is only 4 cards in the entire deck, everything else is just a regular good cards. Redemption is just really strong in Yoda in general. It's obviously amazing to get from Endless Legion as you are very low in HP when you play that. You need to heal yourself back up with Redemption. Tentative 4 is a great card to pick up from U Reinforcement as the meta is becoming a lot space focused. Getting those very giant sentinels very strong, and even if you get dealt with, you just leave an X-Wing behind. Luke Skywalker is still, of course, one of the best cards in the game. Great to pick up for U-Wing Reinforcement. And the Star Arc is also one of the most powerful late game cards in the game if it survives. And it has immediate impact with Ambush, and if it survives, then you can start playing massive cards for a very cheap price. And it also gives us another way to play Endless Legion. You play Star Arc, suddenly you can play Endless Legion for 8 in this particular deck. So you can go Star Arc. If Star Arc survives, you can just outcast Endless Legion outright, which will win you the game. And the rest of the deck is just a regular Yoda mid-range deck. We're running, of course, Jump to Lightspeed is giving us a much better early game with a lot more units that are capable of interacting with 3 health units, with the Phoenix Squadron A-Wing, Luke Skywalker, and still, of course, the solid Battlefield Marine. Luke Skywalker is very nice because it can be played as a 2-drop or 3-drop depending on what you need. And this deck needs flexibility because you do get quite a few cards that kind of clutter your hand, like Endless Legion, that kind of thing, and you don't want to resource those cards because you want options to be able to combo off. So it's kind of nice to have unit that can be played in 2 different ways. Another good example for this is Blue Leader, which it can be played as a 3-drop or 5-drop depending on what you need. Bunch of card that allows you to kind of keep yourself alive. It's Village Protectors, Bright Hope, some ramp spell, some ramp card, some removal, and obviously Your Mighty Hope, because Your Mighty Hope is so good in this deck because obviously it's one of the combo piece, but it also can be played just regularly, just to play an early Luke Skywalker, early Tentate 4, early Redemption, early U-Wing Reinforcement, and get yourself very far ahead in the game. So this is what this deck is about. This is kind of like, as I said, it is a regular Yoda green mid-range deck, but has this win condition as an alternative win condition. So what is the point of that win condition? First of all, it's very good against control, because against control, you can basically play Endless Legion for 16 against pure control deck, and that gives you kind of a win button that the control deck cannot really do anything about. You play Endless, like you get out with Endless Legion, play like Relentless and a bunch of units, the control deck is going to have a lot of trouble dealing with that. Obviously, sometimes it just gives you like random win as your opponent put 5 HP, and as opposed to the pure combo decks where your opponent can really kind of keep a surprise strike and just make sure he's not putting you at 25, it puts you at 24, and just basically kind of wait for the right moment to kill you or to one-shot you. That's something that is not really doable. Like it's something that is obviously very strong against the regular Yoda, but against the green Yoda, it's a lot easier to manage because, once again, it's going to force your opponent to play slower, it's going to force your opponent to be more careful, and that's going to obviously give you an advantage. So just the pressure of the combo, even though you might actually not pull off the combo very often, just the pressure of the combo that can kill you out of nowhere is by itself very valuable. And it's something that you probably understand if you play Magic and you play like Modern in Magic, where there's a deck called Splinter Twin that was very popular at some point. And this deck was basically that. It was just a regular good stuff control deck. And sometimes it just could win the game out of nowhere with a 2-card combo. And it's exactly what this deck is trying to do. Obviously, it's not doing it as well as Splinter Twin, because Splinter Twin has been an absolute dominant deck in Modern for a very long time. I don't think it's at that level yet, but it's definitely a deck that is very interesting to look at. And the Starhawk is a really big upgrade to the deck, as well as other interesting card like blue. Especially the early game is also much better than in a regular green Yoda as well. So from this deck here, there's a couple of interesting deals. U-Wing Reinforcement can be picked up for €1. Luke Skywalker you can pick up for €25 on card market, and then you got Endless Legion, which is a legendary, which currently is going for 50 cents, which is incredible because this is a legendary. And guys, this card might not be very playable now, but it's one of the cards that has the biggest potential for the future. So I think those are really good deal. Moving on, we got a deck that probably a lot of people thought about. This is obviously the Kazuda yellow deck. So Kazuda is a very nice leader because he's a leader that basically cancels the negative ability of your units. And it turns out in Star Wars Limited, there's quite a few units that have negative abilities. Not only that, it's an early deploy leader, so comes at 2/5 for 4, and also comes out at +3/+3 for 4 as a pilot leader. So in my opinion, it's one of the best leader of set 4. And I'll explain you why. So it has so many great synergy, of course. The Fireball, the 3/3 ambush for 2. Once the downside has been removed, it's just incredibly powerful. Same for Contracted Hunters, a 4/4 for 3 ambush once you remove the downside. Those 2 cards are just incredible because they will ambush, take an early advantage in the game, and most likely they will stay alive to keep putting pressure in the game, which is excellent in the tempo deck, which is exactly what we're going for here with the specific version. But there's not only those 2 cards. There's also the Stolen AT-Hauler, which is the 4/5 for 3. Opponent can steal it if he kills it. The thing is, you can remove the downside using Kazuda, so that doesn't happen anymore. There's a caveat to this though. If your opponent manages to take initiative and kill before you get to use the Kazuda's ability, then he can steal the AT-Hauler. But obviously that reduces the timing window in which your opponent can do that. And also, if you manage to steal the Stolen AT-Hauler, we actually can play a new adventures to get it back. Just new adventures AT-Hauler, you will get it back under your control, which is pretty incredible. Other than this, of course, we got a Minion Falcon. We don't have to pay the tax anymore, so just a 3/4 becomes ready for 3, which is insane. And then the rest of the deck is just, and then we also have Counter Spacer, Counter Turncoat, which is 2-3-4-1. We can cancel the bounty with Kazuda, which is great. So there's just like a lot of very low cost, very, very efficient units once they're combined with Kazuda. Kazuda deployments as a +3/+3, turn the card into a leader. That's just very strong, especially we play quite a few space units. We play, so the rest of the deck is pretty much like a lot of good stuff. Of course, we play the, so early on in the game, we can go double 1-drop with Wolfpack Escort, Counter Turncoat, or Leia Organa as well. Come into play, ready one of your own resource. Wolfpack Escort is kind of nice because it's a cheap unit in space that can have some pilots in there. We play actually quite a few pilots between Han Solo, Mandalorians, and Kazuda. And also being able to bounce your own unit can sometimes be valuable. You can bounce Body Rook to replay it, get back his one playability. You can do this with Leia as well. It's very nice. Instead of the Wolfpack Escort, you can also play the new 1-3-4-1. I forgot the name. I think it's the Y-Wing. It's a 1-3-4-1 in space that you can run. It's also quite good. It's a bit more, it's less aggressive, but it's a bit more survivable. So depending on the meta, you might want to consider playing the 1-3 instead. Just a good card to basically get those pilots and get the double 1-drop opening. Then we got obviously, so Lux Bonteri is a card I think is going to be very important in the meta because it's very strong against triple dark raid. It's one of the best cards against triple dark raid. So it being able to kind of cancel triple dark raid is very strong. And then we get the 2 drops is what we already talked about. Then we get into the 5 drops here with kind of the classic counter bouncers. Plo Koon, very easy to get coordinated with this deck. Han Solo is really good in this deck. It's very flexible. It can be a 4-5 ambush, or it can be just piloting a smaller ship in order to attack and deal a bunch of damage. It also does combine with Falcon, even though we're not going to use that often because in this deck, most likely we want to be pushing damage instead of trying to take good trades. And we prefer to just use our ambush unit to actually kill enemy units instead of using the units that are already in play. Then the Mandalorian is really strong. Pilots that can exhaust an enemy units, or can be played on the ground to exhaust 2 ground units, which is just a massive swing if you're playing a deck that has a lot of ground units, and also gives you a 5/6, which is just incredible. So this deck is really strong because it's very coherent. Like everything kind of like serves the same purpose as putting pressure and dealing with the board at the same time. It has great finishing tools, some of the best finishing cards in the game. A new Adventures is absolutely completely insane in this deck. It just works well with everything. Obviously, it can just double triggers Leia's Body Rook's ability, but that's not the best way to use it. You can use it on Contacted Hunter, Falcon to attack again, Stolen Etiolo to get it back, Cantina Bouncer for getting the bounce effect, Han Solo to get the ambush again, Plo Koon to get the ambush again, Mandalorian to exhaust 2 ground units again. Just everything combines well with a new adventure in this deck. It's just pretty insane. So a new adventure is just like a million times better in this deck than it is in a regular Han Yellow deck. So it's much more aggressive than a regular Han Yellow, which does very well with the early deployment of Kazuda. It's just a great deck in my opinion. As a sideboard, something I wanted to show you is the Commandeer. I think Commandeer is going to be one of the best sideboard card in the set. Just being able to steal a space unit of and then basically bounce it afterward is just completely absurd, and the fact that it can bounce even a ready unit is incredible. As you steal that early unit, then you even if it just came into play, you ready it, and then so it just makes it so much easier to use than something like Change of Heart, which I believe is still a good card, but it just operates against different type of decks. So that's basically it for my version of Kazuda Yellow. I think it's very, very solid, and definitely I'll be surprised this is not going to be a meta deck because there's just so much good thing going on with this. For Cunning right now, you can actually pick up Cunning for less than €15 on card market, which is crazy considering it's one of the best cards in the game. My next deck is going to be my Saxon aggro deck. So Gal Saxon was already a pretty good deck in set 3, as it's a deck that made multiple top 8 in PQ. And it's only getting better with this new set, as it's currently getting tons of new cards, shielded units that are very powerful, and also a lot of very strong synergies. So, as you can see, those early game, of course, we're playing all those cheap shielded units that are difficult to deal with because they are shielded, and gets the +1 attack bonus from Saxon because a shield is an upgrade. So continuous Crafty Smuggler becomes a 3-2 shielded for 2, which is incredible. Dr. Evazan is a 4-3 shielded for 2, which is obviously even more incredible. So those are like really, really strong early game. But obviously we are getting Director Krennic. Director Krennic is not only a very powerful card by itself, it's incredible in this particular deck because it's going to give you a discount on your when defeated cards, and on top of being like a relatively aggressive unit, and being able to do both those things at once is crazy. You can go turn 1, Director Krennic, and then play Greedo for free. So you get a 3-2 shielded and a 3-1 into play on turn 1, which is just so much pressure on your opponent. You can also play your Inferno 4 for cheaper. You can play your Shuttle ST-148 for cheaper. So you can go turn 1 Director Krennic, 3-2 shielded, turn 2 Shuttle, which is a 4-4 shielded that can move upgrades around, which can be very powerful in some matchup. So imagine you go like Krennic plus Greedo turn 1, turn 2, Shuttle ST-148. The amount of pressure you can do with this is just completely absurd. And this was not possible before. And remember, this deck was already kind of a good deck in set 3, so it's only going to get so much better now. The rest of the deck is pretty much what you would expect. So you get those Snapshot Reflexes, Archer D44 Blasters as additional upgrade that allows you to attack right away, give stat bonus. Whenever your shield units lose their shield, they also lose their +1 attack bonus, so you can kind of like give them back the +1 attack bonus by putting the upgrade on them. Those cheap upgrades are perfect for that. We have a lot of temple tools, No Good to Me Dead, Perilous Positions, so the best exhaust effect in the game, and Waylay as well. Commandeer is currently very strong in the current meta. Obviously, it's kind of a meta call, like a lot of people playing very large vehicles. It's up to you if you think that this is going to remain like this or the meta is going to change, in which case you might want to put maybe more luck in TIE Phantoms if you think the meta is going to be less on space units and more on control decks. Then luck in TIE Phantoms is going to become better. So it's kind of up to you whether you want to put this around. But in the current meta, I find Commander in the main deck to be very, very powerful. Then we got Ident Versio, which is another great addition for the deck. It says either a 5-3 for 4 shielded or a great upgrades to place on your Inferno 4 on turn 2. So Inferno 4 on turn 1, you actually get to look at the top 2 cards in the deck, find you have higher chance to fight Ident Versio, and then you play Ident Versio, suddenly your Inferno 4 becomes a 6-6 shielded, which is, there's just certain decks that just can't deal with this, which is pretty crazy. It can also be equipped on 7th Fleet Defender and on the TIE Advance on the Shuttle 148. TIE Advance still a very good card in this deck, being able to boost your Imperial units. There's quite a few Imperial units in this deck. We got Krennic, 7th Fleet Defender, the Client, Inferno 4, Ident Versio, Shuttle, and other TIE Advance. So this, obviously, putting a threat on the board, giving those upgrades, giving this +1 attack bonus with Saxon is great. It also works on your leader too, so it's very nice. So the deck just makes a lot of sense. It's just very aggressive. The units are almost all shielded, so very difficult to deal with. So it's a really strong deck. The main weakness of this deck, and something that it's an unsolvable issue, is the fact that whenever you're playing an aggro deck, having your leader deploy on 6 is a very, very big downside. So that's basically kind of the main complaint out of this deck, is the Saxon deploy on 6 is just very slow in the majority of the time. Saxon is most likely going to operate as a kind of as a finishing move, which is fine, but it's just like the deck would be so much better if Saxon deployed on 5, even with weaker stats. But yeah, it's kind of like the big weakness of the leader, but the leader's ability is so strong that I think it's okay. And this deck is getting so much stronger, as I said earlier. This was it. So this is also another deck that is extremely affordable. There's actually not a single legendaries in this deck. There's just 2 Change of Hearts in the sideboard, which is not even it's not even like a must-have in my opinion. And Change of Hearts can go for on card market for 3.5 euro, so basically for 4 euro. So this is a deck that you can basically buy for less than 40 quid, and I think it's going to be a very competitive deck. And it's going to be, it's just incredibly affordable. There's a couple of expensive rares like the L44 Blaster, but it's still going to remain like a very, very affordable deck, in my opinion. So it's nice to see that there's so many very affordable options for set 4 in terms of like the different decks that can be played. So that's something that is very nice to see. Anyway, so this is it. This is the fourth deck list I wanted to show today. I obviously have so much cool ideas for this this set. So many other decks I want to show off. So I'm gonna make other videos like this. Usually I like to make very in-depth video deck tech videos, but the problem is that since the meta is not very developed, and I haven't had time yet to really go deep dive on all of those decks. So it's gonna take me a little bit more time to do an in-depth deck tech about those different lists. And also it's going to require a better knowledge of the meta so I can do a proper sideboard plan. So for now, I prefer to just show off like lists like this, explain the ins and outs of the list, kind of the card choice, and I hope this is going to work well for you. Anyway, thank you so much for following that video. Expect more video like this coming in the upcoming weeks. And if you like the video, please like and subscribe, and drop a comments if you want to take part in the card market 20 euro card giveaway. So just drop a comment, put your Discord name, your Discord number, so I can contact you if you win. And I forgot to say, but this giveaway is only valid for Europeans. So so if you're American, obviously you're very welcome to drop a comment as well, but but you're not eligible for the giveaway, just to let you know. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you for supporting the channel. Bye bye.